kid in college, my mother used to want me to call her and talk to her, and I was 1,000 miles away from home, so I really only got home Christmas and summers for the most part, and every week I received a letter from her, and invariably she asked me if I would call sometime that weekend. Now, those of you who are old enough to remember that there used to be something called long distance. And long distance rates were expensive during the week, but they lowered significantly from Friday at about 7 o'clock until Monday at about 8 a.m. The rates were only like 10 or 20 cents a minute. Now, of course, the irony here is that what college boy wants to talk to his mother between 7 p.m. on Friday and 8 a.m. on Monday? So I was constantly plagued with guilt every weekend, but I wasn't about to excuse myself from the party to go call my mother, because I don't think I would ever have heard that or lived that one down. So invariably, I would wander in somewhat less than coherent and call her at some hour like 6 a.m. Saturday morning before I made my way to bed. And you know what? The funny thing about it is, she was fine with that. She told me later, in her later years in the nursing home when I'd go to visit her, that she looked forward to those Saturday morning calls because she knew that before she got out of bed, even before she started her Saturday chores, that call would come in and she'd be able to talk to me. Well, at the time she told me that, my kids were teenagers, and I really didn't understand how any rational human being would want to talk to their idiot kids that time of Saturday morning. But now, Sarah and Neil are both gone, and the reality is settling in, and I am beginning to treasure those moments with my idiot kids that I once took for granted. And I think that's how God is too. See, we're the idiot kids. And we probably assume that we bother him with all of our prayers and our worship and whatnot. And we think that really he only wants us to talk to him so that he can yell at us for being idiots. Many people in the world today think that's what church is all about. Just coming here every week to get yelled at because once again you failed to achieve perfection. But the truth is that God really does love us that much. He really does want to hear from us, his idiot kids. And he looks forward to our calls on him, even when they're incoherent. He wants us to talk to him because he loves us. And don't be afraid to ask. Jesus literally encourages us to annoy God with our asking. See, we think it would annoy us if anyone asked us the way we ask God. But think about this. Think about how good it feels to be able to give something to someone whom you dearly love. God loves to hear our arguments. He loves to hear our explanations, because in making the argument, in processing the explanation, what happens is we develop in faith. In fact, I'll tell you right now, I firmly believe that God often withholds the gift until we develop our theology enough. He wants us to grasp the importance of the gift for which we ask, or to learn as we talk to him that we don't really want or need that gift after all. A kid asks for a scorpion because scorpions are cool. But what loving father would toss the kid a scorpion and say, "You ask for it"? Now, he would work with the child and educate the child to help the child understand that maybe a scorpion isn't the best thing to play with. And then if you're going to handle a scorpion, you have to know just how to do that. See, that's what God does with us. Sometimes we ask and he just says no, because he knows whatever we're asking for is bad for us. Sometimes we keep asking, and God sends us down paths where we learn. And at the end of that path, we often have a whole different perspective on that which we really need or that which we really want. The great news is that we can ask for whatever we want and we'll always be okay, because we know that God will never give us anything that hurts us, no matter how badly we want it. So if you're asking and you're not getting, keep asking. But pay attention. The answer is almost never just no, without any explanation. But that explanation might take some listening, and it might take some work to understand. Abraham went to God because he didn't want his nephew Lot, who happened to have a family just under 10. He didn't want his nephew Lot to get wiped out when Sodom and Gomorrah was wiped out. And we see Abraham in the Old Testament meticulously and rather tenaciously argue with God until he got the answer he wanted. And he is at peace with that answer. What about you? What do you want from God? Annoy him. Have your voice in his ear night and day. Paul says, pray without ceasing. Sooner or later, one of two things is going to happen. First, you may get that for which you ask. But when you do, having gone through the process, you'll know what to do with it. Or second, you may not get that for which you ask. But you will be at peace with God's decision. And you'll understand that you're better for it.